Hello and good evening. Today's presentation describes our experience in participatory architecture in the rural context in India and other developing countries, involving both the community and the architect. The community and its culture of building is the protagonist in the rural context. The architect has a guiding role. In any rural or tribal society, everybody is a great builder. Each and every member of the family knows the art of building and maintenance. So like the Indian concept of life, which is a cycle of birth, life, death and rebirth, the philosophy of people's architecture is build, maintain, perish and rebuild. Over years, this practice has led to the wisdom of people's architecture. Let us look at a few examples. About 10 years back, the cyclone Nargis struck the coastal districts of Myanmar and wreaked absolute havoc. The UNDP commissioned us to design cyclone shelters through community participation. When we visited the coastal areas, we found that most of the buildings had collapsed because of the thrust from the tidal waves. But some actually withstood that. The community told us that wherever there were ponds in front of the buildings, they were intact because the pond acts as the wave breaker. So the community suggested, let us dig a pond, use the earth to make an embankment and keep the cyclone shelter behind it. We did that, and these cyclone shelters have actually withstood a couple of cyclones after this. Let us look at another example of community wisdom in Samoa. Now Samoa is a small group of very small islands in the vast Pacific. There, a house is known as a fale. This is a picture of a typical fale. You see that there are no external walls. All along the periphery, we have the roll-up car curtains. There are no partition walls either. The perceived space division is only because of the furniture layout. So we know that this is a dining space, that is a sleeping space, and so on. The requirement of privacy by the inhabitants are really very minimal. All are welcome, provided you leave your shoes outside.
Peu has actually set the background of participatory process. And I'm going to quickly take you around with respect to a few practical examples where we actually adapted participatory process. But then, as she has already mentioned, that you cannot go for a participatory process with a predetermined methodology. You have to be very open-minded, and your line of action will largely depend on the type of project and the context. So we have chosen 4 for you. One is living with hazards. It's a multi-hazard safe schools in Maldives, where we were primarily the learners. The second one, I'll take you to a few school buildings of South Africa, where we were the influencers. And finally, Tripura, where we were acting as a common thread. Let's go to Maldives. You know, this Maldives has got 1,200 islands, out of which 200 are inhabited. And we all know that in 2004, a massive tidal wave struck the northern part of Maldives, devastating the infrastructure. What happened was, people very quickly restored their residences as a makeshift arrangement, but the schools were all shut down. The government was totally nervous about it because they had to restart the school at the earliest. So they had approached even Habitat and Habitat to us, and that's how we were there. When we had the initial dialogue with the government of Maldives, we came to know that they have 1 or 2 designs for the schools which they send to all 200 atolls and islands. And they had barely any idea about the risk profile at the local level. So we together decided that we'll adapt a line of action of participatory vulnerability assessment with the people. Because the people, they know their risk profile much better than what we do. So this is a typical island. I think because of the light, it's looking a bit dark.
Yeah, we can see light.
That's fine. Yeah, this is a typical island. This is in the northern part of Maldives. You see that there are hardly a few buildings, and people are very much 300, 400, 500, not more than that. And it is surrounded by sand, which is the only construction material available to them. And that too, they can use the sand only after 3 years of getting washed by rains. It's a very, very fragile ecologically. Now, what we did was we conducted participatory vulnerability assessment. And the people who took part in that were islanders, students, teachers, etc. etc. Interestingly, you can see there was a cleric also, because cleric has got a very important role to play in there.